Hey guys, we're back for another week of trading, and this one was definitely a rough one. From getting punished by some bad habits to finally feeling like I was starting to trust my discretion again, to probably the worst way I could have ended the week. Before we jump in though, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been watching the videos the past week. Seeing so many people come back after so long honestly means a lot to me. It genuinely makes all the work that goes into these videos feel worth it, and I'll keep doing my best to improve, not just as a trader but as a creator too, and hopefully you guys stick around for that journey. Yeah, enough of talking, let's just get straight into this week's trades. Today's setup was honestly one of the cleanest setups I've seen in a while, and somehow I still managed to fumble it. Coming into this week, my main focus was building confidence again. Last week I let a few A+ setups go by, so this week I wanted to trust my analysis a little bit more and actually commit when everything lined up. Looking at price, I was leaning pretty bearish. We had an hourly order block below us which price had already tapped, although not quite as deep as I would have liked. On top of that, price had swept a recent high and developed a bearish SMT, so I was pretty interested in looking for shorts. And once the analysis was done, it was really just a waiting game. It honestly took a little while, and during that wait I started getting a bit eager because I really liked how today's setup was developing. Eventually price came back for a retest. It wasn't quite the tap that I was hoping for, but price kept pushing lower anyways, so I told myself, alright, if price breaks lower from here, I'll just enter. And we got that break, and that's where I took the trade. And almost immediately this trade went against me. Buyers stepped in really aggressively and I was stopped out pretty much straight away. Looking back, I was actually pretty happy with my read on the market. The mistake wasn't the analysis, it was my execution. And seeing price continue lower gave me a bit of FOMO, and instead of waiting for the OTE tap that I had planned from the beginning, I chased the move instead. And in my head I justified it because price was reacting from a 5-minute support, so I felt like it was a reasonable entry. But that's exactly what happens when you start skipping parts of your process. You convince yourself it's close enough until it isn't. It's frustrating for sure, but more than anything today was just another reminder that patience only isn't about waiting for a trade, it's about waiting for your trade. Today was probably my best execution in weeks, and somehow I still walked away disappointed. Coming off of yesterday's loss, my only goal today was to stay patient and wait until my model gave me everything that I wanted to see. No chasing, no forcing any trades, just waiting for my setup. And looking at price, I was honestly a little unsure at first. We had a 4-hour order block holding price down, and overall price looked pretty extended to the buy side. The hourly had wicked the internal high, which fit the narrative I was looking for, and because of that, my main expectation was for price to revisit the hourly order block below. And while I was waiting, I noticed price starting to build for longs instead, and I thought about taking it, but I never really felt confident without the hourly supporting it, so I decided to leave it alone. And then market open came around and price sold off pretty aggressively. For a moment I wanted to jump into this move, but Monday was still fresh in my mind, so I told myself, no, just be patient, your setup will come. And thankfully it did. Price retraced back into the newly formed 5-minute support, tapped into the OTE almost perfectly, and that was where I finally decided to execute. And the trade started working almost immediately. Momentum was clean and price flushed lower exactly how I'd hoped. After waiting so long for a proper setup, this honestly felt really rewarding to see. Eventually though, price started slowing down, and at this point there wasn't much I could do besides trust my model. I'd already trailed my stop, so even if price came back, the loss would be smaller, but in the end, buyers stepped in hard and I got stopped out. Looking back, I actually think this was one of my best executions in a long time. If I'd only been aiming for a 1 hour, I could have taken profit, but based on how price was behaving in the moment, I still felt like the move into the lows was the higher probability outcome. The trade itself wasn't really the issue, the management was. I think I should have moved my stop to break even once price started losing momentum. Keeping above the internal high was probably just me hoping that price would give me another chance to push lower. Realistically, if my idea was still valid, price shouldn't be trading back up there anyways. So although the result was disappointing, today honestly felt like progress. Monday taught me to be more patient, and today proved that I can actually do it, and now it's just about continuing to improve what comes after the entry. Alrighty boys, so for Wednesday I didn't end up taking a trade today because I had work in the morning. We did have PPI, which I don't usually do the best on. I think it's more around break even, so because of that I'd rather just avoid it. But since I was avoiding it, it gave me a nice opportunity to forward test another part of my model. And looking at how price developed, we swooped the high during pre-market and then we ended up selling off during market open. We had a nice displacement candle through macro where we also respected the sell side imbalance, and this we could have entered going 1-to-1, and if I wanted wanted to, then I could have waited for a retrace into the sell side imbalance again, because this displacement, it was the one that took out the liquidity, so that would have been a bit more risky. And waiting for price to retrace a bit more, we would have seen it retest into this sell side imbalance again and then displace lower, and we could have taken it for another 1-to-1. So these two were really clean, and I was really happy with how it played out. Actually, I was quite shocked because it actually played out really quick. It was like 4 minutes or some. So that's pretty solid, can't lie. And yeah, I've just been doing a bit more backtesting on it, because I've been doing like 4 to 6 months of backtesting each day, which is, it's quite a bit, but it's definitely helped me develop more of an edge over the market. And you can see like this is really clean, so I'm really happy with how things are going. Obviously that's just 1 month. I just did this before I recorded this, so yeah, I thought about recording this because, you know, obviously this is pretty insane stats for a month. And yeah, we'll just keep on developing it and come back tomorrow, try to see if another setup forms during macro, and if it does, then we could probably consider taking it. I finally traded exactly how I wanted to today. I just made one really stupid mistake. Coming off of yesterday's forward test, I wanted to keep on experimenting, but more than anything, I knew that meant being even more patient than usual. No forcing, no chasing, just waiting for the model to come to me. And looking at the market coming into the session, we just swept out the prominent low and started pushing back higher. So rather than jumping in early, I just wanted to see what kind of pullback price would give me. If the right confirmation showed up, I'd take it, but if it didn't, I'd simply just leave it alone. And as we got closer to macro, I was actually pretty happy with how patient I'd been. Eventually, price gave a clean retest into the bearish 1-minute fair value gap and whipped into it. The moment I saw this, I was completely locked in. There wasn't any hesitation. Like, it was the exact confirmation I've been waiting for. So I took the trade. Almost immediately, the trade started working. Price rolled over, carried the momentum lower, and tagged out take profit for a really clean win. Honestly, it felt really rewarding, not because of the money, but because I finally waited for exactly what I'd planned. And looking back, I think this was my best trade of the week. The biggest difference wasn't the setup, it was my mindset. And I trusted the process. I waited for confirmation, and when the moment came, I didn't hesitate. I just executed. And that being said, I still managed to make one pretty silly mistake. I accidentally entered the wrong amount of contracts, which meant leaving a pretty decent chunk of profit on the table. It's frustrating, but it's also a much better mistake to be reviewing. And I'd rather be fixing position sizing than going back to chasing trades or skipping parts of my process. Because if I can keep executing like this consistently, then the results will just take care of themselves. This is probably the worst way I could have ended the week. Going into today, my plan was pretty simple. You know, just stay patient, wait for macro, and if my setup presented itself, I'll take it with confidence. And after the progress I made this week, I just wanted to finish by sticking to my process one more time. Overall, I was still leaning bearish, and we had swept the swing high and immediately displaced lower, with price trading into the discount of the range. Because of that, I was expecting us to continue working towards the prominent swing low. So I sat on my hands and waited for macro. Price continued selling off into the session, and I became even more interested in the shorts since there weren't really any signs of a reversal. Eventually, price wicked into the bearish fair value gap and displaced away from it, almost identical to the confirmation I traded yesterday. So I ended up taking the setup. The trade started working almost immediately. Then I noticed I entered the wrong position size because I had calculated it incorrectly. So I closed the trade. And since I believed the setup was valid, I went to re-enter, but I accidentally typed the number of contracts that I wanted into the wrong window. So I closed everything again and tried one more time. And finally, I got the trade on correctly, and almost immediately price reversed. And where my stop loss should have been, I accidentally placed another short limit. So instead of getting stopped out, I was adding on even more shorts. And by the time I realized what had happened, the damage was already done. The account was gone. And this was a pretty rough way to finish the week. Looking back, I don't think the setup itself was nearly as strong as I convinced myself it was. Most of my conviction came from seeing price continuing to flush lower rather than having enough confirmations behind the idea. But more importantly, I had multiple chances to accept the loss and move on. Instead, I tried to fix the situation because I was just hoping that price would come back, and it never did. As frustrating as today was, I think it exposed something that is just as important as having a good model. You also need to stay composed when things don't go according to plan, because one small mistake doesn't have to end your account. It only becomes that big when you stop making clear decisions afterwards, and that's something that I'll definitely be taking into next week. Alright boys, that wraps up one of the craziest weeks I've had in my trading journey. Blowing my account because of a technical mistake honestly sucked, and looking back I still don't really know why I couldn't just accept the loss and close the trade. Instead I froze and let everything snowball from there. It really showed that I still have a lot to work on mentally, but at the same time, I don't think this week was all bad. Honestly, ever since my first payout, something has just felt different. I went through this really conservative phase where I slowly lost confidence in my own reads, and I almost felt like I stopped trusting myself, even though realistically I know I'm actually becoming a better trader. I'm taking journaling more seriously, I'm backtesting properly, I'm reviewing my trades every single week, and I'm putting in more work now than I've ever done before. So yeah, maybe the results just haven't caught up yet. But yeah, losing the account hurts, but if there's one thing that this week proved to me is that I'm finally starting to fix the habits that were actually holding me back too. First day was probably the best example of that. I waited, I trusted my model, and I executed without hesitation. And now it's just about doing that consistently while also continuing to improve my reads. You know, the account can always be replaced, and the habits are what really matters. So next week, we'll just start again. So thank you guys so much for watching, and especially if you made it all the way through to the end. Your support genuinely means more than you probably realize, and honestly it's been one of the biggest motivations for me to keep making these videos. If you guys did enjoy the video, please feel free to show some love down below. It really helps the channel out. Alright, take care guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.